Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we present the Nevada Hotel Lodging Association webinar on tips for navigating the hospitality job market during COVID-19. My name is Anthony Lai. I am the Student Affairs Program Manager at the International School of Hospitality, and I also sit on the committee of the NHLA Emerging Leaders Council. As one of the board members for the Emerging Leaders, myself and the rest of the council decided that we needed to find a way to reach out to our young hospitality professionals and give them some guidance during these challenging times. I know pretty much all of you that are joining us at the webinar tonight have been greatly affected during this pandemic. Some of you have been furloughed, laid off, or sadly terminated in your current position. And as a result, many of you have moved into different roles in the industry, sometimes maybe found a role outside of the hospitality industry. And then some of you might even still be looking for jobs that are available during this time. Nevertheless, myself and the Emerging Leaders Council decided tonight we're going to gather the very best of the top hospitality leaders here in Vegas and also Reno and have them answer the questions that we are all wanting to hear from them. These panel of industry leaders have many years of experience and are in executive positions within the industry. Tonight, they will share their advice and offer some tips on how you can be a standout emerging leader. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our panel tonight. We'll begin with Ilsa Harley. Ilsa is the Regional Vice President and General Manager of Four Seasons Hotel, Las Vegas. We also have Kevin Glass. Kevin Glass is the Resort General Manager at the Downtown Grand. Chris Breed, Vice President, Hotel Operations at Soleil Management. Nicole Marshall, Regional Manager at the DeSiegel Group. Greg Tomlinson, General Manager at the Tahiti Village. John Brady, Director of Front Office at the Venetian Resort. And last but certainly not least, Janine Ganska, Director of Hotel Operations at the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share the screen while we look at all of our amazing panel on camera. Panel, thank you for joining us tonight. Are you all ready for the questions? Yes, just a little nod. Great. Great. So these questions are coming directly from the members that have registered through the NHLA website. So they've already been pre-selected. And for the audience that have joined us on this session, if you do have a question that wasn't addressed on this webinar or you didn't have a chance to submit it through nvhotels.com, please type your questions on the Q&A and chat feature. We reserve a few minutes towards the end and we'll get them answered from the panel. So we'll go ahead and begin with the first question of the day, and that question will go to Ilsa. So Ilsa, in today's market, what is your best piece of advice for young professionals currently working?
A couple things, I guess I would say is not knowing whether you're in the job of your dreams yet, or you're maybe in something leading to something else. I would take this time to pay particular attention to the things that you really like about it and the things that you really don't like about it. And an example I would be is if it really bothers you that you're working weekends or you're coming in on a holiday, if that inherently bothers you, that's going to help to dictate what you want to do in the future. Because the further you go along in the hotel business, you probably still will work weekends. You still can work on a holiday. So really, I always, early on in your career, kind of assess how you're feeling about it, because you don't want to go further and further and resent it, because that will make it more difficult for you to be very successful. And I would also say, if you're in a position that you might not love everything about it, because maybe you've had to take a detour or do something that maybe was not your first choice, do the best job you absolutely can in it. Give it 100%, 110%, and do an amazing job, because by doing an amazing job, that's going to allow you to go to a different position. But to kind of get bogged down with the fact that you don't like it or it wasn't really what you wanted to do, I would say if you can focus your energy on killing it and being the best you can be, you will be attractive to maybe somebody in a different discipline or in a different industry because you're creating your, kind of work ethic and brand.
Yeah,
Makes sense?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah, someone definitely with a passion for the industry, but also anyone in hospitality, you have to be flexible, right?
Yeah.
With the weekends and the holidays and all that. And that kind of segues to the next question. This question is for Nicole. What is a big no-no when a young professional interviews?
So I go back to when I have interviewed people and the things that have kind of turned me off. And the biggest thing is never talk bad about your past employer. It doesn't matter what your employer did. They could have broken every law, every rule in the book. Never talk bad about them, because what you say about your past employer is what's going to tell me, as someone interviewing you, what you may say about me and my company when you leave. So the biggest thing that stands out is always make sure you have either something nice to say, or it's okay to not say anything at all. So when they're telling you, why did you leave your last job? It wasn't a good fit. Our ethics didn't match, something like that. Never talk bad about them. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. Keep it professional, because whatever you're saying, again, is going to be something that they're going to say is, this is what you could be saying about me and my company. And you're going to be sharing secrets. So don't share trade secrets. Don't, gossip. Everything in that interview is selling yourself, and it should be about you and not what they did and what the company may have did or, didn't do.
So it's definitely, not so much oversharing and keeping it simple. Is that? Mm-hmm. All right. So this question is for Janine. Do you feel emerging leaders are at a disadvantage in today's COVID world, or at an advantage, and why?
I actually think that they're at an advantage right now. And it's it'll go in line a little bit with what Ilse was saying, is that everybody right now, if you're coming in and you're giving it your all and you're pivoting when you need to pivot, as we know, everything is changing on an almost daily basis at this point. So if you're coming in, you're dedicated, you're ready to pivot, now more than ever, you can stand out in this industry. Your ability to get in and do whatever it is that we need you to do. There's new roles coming, I swear, every day as well. There's new roles, there's new people taking on new roles, there's combined roles. Just the plethora of ability. You may be doing something right now that isn't your end result. Maybe you still want to be in hospitality, but you're not really happy with the exact thing you're doing. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep taking on whatever you can take on. Give it your all. Do your best. You will absolutely, without a doubt, stand out. And is exactly what we are looking for, because right now it is challenging and it's not fun every single day. It's maybe a little less fun than it used to be. And we get that and we empathize with that. So if you can stand out through that, then I absolutely feel that you're at an advantage right now.
Would you say that, anyone who's at a disadvantage is someone who doesn't want to take on the big roles, who want to be stagnant in the same areas that they are? And let's say your manager asks you to do something extra or to maybe go to another department. And if you say no, would that be considered a disadvantage?
No, not necessarily. If they're happy to be exactly where they're at, that's great. If you're trying to continue to move up and expand in this career, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. If you're just happy with where you're at, that's great, but come in and give it your all, because right now there's a lot that isn't ideal, and this is not the industry that we all walked into. And so we're all trying to pivot and understand as we go. So the best thing would be that you have to keep your positive attitude right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Janine. And this question is for Chris. Now, most of the questions that we have asked before were targeted people who are working in the industry. Now, let's target a question to someone who's less experienced, a candidate. How can a less experienced candidate stand out from a more experienced pool of job seekers?
Sure, thank you. A couple of you have already touched on it, and it's, adaptability, attitude. When you're just starting out in your career, the hiring managers are looking more for attitude and your trainability. based on your resume, they'll know that your skill set might not be defined yet, and that's okay. That's all right. However, they'll want to know that you're willing to learn, that you have drive, and that you're eager. Janine touched base on it that, right now, everybody's doing a little bit of everything. There are no defined job descriptions. I'm sure everyone on this panel right now has probably cleaned a room in the last 10 months, has probably washed some dishes or flipped a hamburger. That's the world we live in, and probably going to be that way for a little bit longer. So I think, now as you're interviewing for positions, it's for that adaptability and attitude.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely.
And this question is for Kevin. As Chris mentioned on the skill set, how important is it today to be able to pivot skills, and how's that done successfully?
I just wanted to say, Chris, it's funny that you say that. I will be the MOD this weekend at the property for all 3 days because we've had some unfortunate folks that had to go out for testing. So got to roll up your sleeves and do what you got to do. Sorry, I had to just say that. But Anthony, it's super important that you have the ability to pivot. I remember when I first started in the business, I started at the front desk as an agent, and I worked my way through up in the front office, and I found myself unemployed after 2001, after the Twin Towers in New York. And I remember thinking back, gosh, what am I going to do? I can't wait to get back to work. And lo and behold, I found an opportunity to go open up the call center at the Palms. And I remember when I was at the front office, I could, and I worked graveyard on overnight, so I used to walk all the time, and I was dealing with, a lot of upset customers. And I always used to find myself using this excuse, if you will, to the customers. Oh, well, room reservations messed up your reservation. That's why you didn't have 2 beds, or you had non-smoking, et cetera. And I said that for 4 years, never really understanding exactly what that meant. And so then when I had the opportunity to go to the Palms and I opened up the call center, it really gave me this different perspective on what it was that I was saying, being in the front office. I never really understood what it meant. And so you're probably wondering why. That's a very long-winded way of explaining. I had to pivot in my career. I had no idea what the call center entailed whatsoever, never even stepped foot in it. But I had to put myself in a position where I was able to learn. And I think now more so than ever, as everybody mentioned, we're all doing things that we would never be doing. There's a lot of companies, I'm sure that many of you have read, are creating hospitality divisions. So somebody who would oversee, a non-gaming operation, you'd find somebody who's got a hotel background potentially overseeing food and beverage, and somebody in food and beverage overseeing the hotel. We all got to step up and do a little bit more with a lot less now.
Absolutely. Adaptability and going above and beyond the call of duty than what your traditional role has entailed. Now, this question is for Greg. What are some positive points that stand out in a resume?
For me, I like to see a resume be more objective than subjective. Oftentimes I see young people who make resumes and they kind of get in a hurry, and they say a lot of words that they think we want to hear and think we want to see. And they don't really give facts behind their skills. So for the points would be just slow down, don't be in a hurry, and understand that this is a document that's going to represent you to us without us seeing you. And especially in this day and age, we may not even see you at all before we make a hiring decision. So, make objective points to your skills. So don't make bland comments and generic comments. Take your time, make sure that it's clean, make sure that it's structurally sound, make sure the grammar is correct. Even if you don't have a lot of experience, you can still make a solid resume that would make our decision easier for you.
Would you say that, the candidates that do apply for jobs, they oftentimes fill in like the basic generic type of answers, like ability to multitask or handle conflicts, and they don't go anything further than that? They needed something a little bit more task and results driven in their resume.
That exactly right. You'll see a lot of, I help them build their sales, or I help them increase customer service, but they don't give you the why or what behind that. And more importantly, the why, and how they did it, how they helped them. I increased the score from X percentage to this percentage in this time frame. Those are the things that I like to see on resumes.
All right, thank you, Greg. And this question is for John. What do you see is the biggest challenge for young people looking for opportunities in today's market? I will click on unmute real quick.
Thanks, Anthony. Can you hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
Thanks. So, I would say absolutely, it's a tough market right now, right? Nobody can deny that. There's limited positions available. Obviously, businesses have closed since the start of COVID. There's less events in the town, right? We're supposed to have the draft this year, and numerous other events. So, unfortunately, people aren't hiring right now, right? The competition is even greater. The number of people who are applying for positions is certainly greater. Where somebody may have only, a position may have gotten 10 or 20 candidates, now it's getting 30, 40, 50 candidates potentially in a position. There's also a lot less turnover right now. Of course, there's, if you're in a job, you're less likely to leave it just because there's not other jobs available. And if you're working for a company who hasn't laid people off, you probably work for a great company, so you're likely not to leave. And I also think companies are trying to figure out everything with COVID, right? The changing government mandates all the time, the new CDC guidelines, whatever it may be. People are still trying to figure out what's going on. So it's challenging to figure out, 6 months from now, 2 months from now, whatever it may be, to figure out where we are as a company and whether we still want to hire or our current branding is appropriate, whatever it may be. So I certainly see that as a challenge.
Yeah, thank you. And do you have just one advice of how to overcome that challenge? We all seem to apply for the same field and the same jobs. Anything that you can offer, John?
Yeah, I think don't be afraid to potentially switch career paths or look for something maybe outside of your comfort zone. Just because you've worked in maybe front of house or back of house your whole career, or vice versa, maybe you've only worked in the casino your entire career, I would say be willing to take a position that is outside of your comfort zone. Look for different opportunities. And seek guidance from your mentors, right? I think that's always huge. They're always, I think, willing to give some great advice that may put you in a better position. And also, they may know more positions that are out there. So I think when you combine all that, those are how you overcome those challenges.
Absolutely. Definitely take advantage of the mentorships. And this is just another plug-in. NHLA, all of the NHLA members, specifically the emerging leaders, we're going to have a virtual mentorship beginning in January. So stay tuned for details, and definitely encourage everyone here in the audience to please sign up and be paired with one of these top industry mentors. All right, so we're going to go back to Ilse. Ilse, question. When you interview a younger person, what are you looking for primarily?
Honestly, I'm not looking for that much different between a young person or somebody who's really seasoned in their career, unless it's a technical position where I'm looking for a lot more experience. But if I think about across the hotel, I'm looking for an element of kindness, number one, and I'm really trying to assess whether people say that they're people and service people, but I'm trying to assess if they really genuinely find joy in delivering service. And I think, there are people that genuinely like to deliver service. And I'm sure the people on this screen are those, because it's a hard business if you don't really enjoy it. And then there are people that like to receive service, which thankfully for us, there are people out there that pay to have service. So I'm trying to assess that. I'm also looking to see if people really reveal themselves, so I can have a true sense of who they are, and see if they're going to match with the culture of the company, because that will ultimately determine how successful or how long they stay. I don't want to no one wants to hire someone that's going to be a very short-term employee. We want to hire someone that's a match culturally. So we're matching moral kind of compass situations. So it doesn't matter if they might not necessarily love the role that they're in, but they'll feel really rewarded with the company, that they can move around. So for me, I'm trying to determine if they're themselves when they're interviewing. And I think my advice for people interviewing would be really let the employer know who you are. And you might think that you have to fit into a certain box to be hired, but employers want real people working for them, and they want to really assess that, and they want to put very diverse and different people onto their team to make them better. So yeah, I'm looking to see that. For a new emerging leader, I don't care about experience. I can teach somebody something. I really just want to see if they have a sense of passion for this business, or what is their reason they want to get into the business, and see if it matches, because I don't want them to be, super disappointed once they get here. So
I think we can all say in hospitality, just because you're the smartest person in the room and you lack personality, it's not going to get you the job. You have to show that hospitality spirit. And this question is for Nicole. What are some tips for a successful virtual interview?
The most important is your background. So always look at yourself first. So if it's going to be a Zoom meeting, a Skype meeting, a Microsoft Teams meeting, set up an account, set up a meeting just with you and figure it out. Nobody wants to see this in your meeting. You don't want to see this in your meeting. And I picked a room with a ceiling fan because who wants to talk to me like this? So you really, no, I gotta put this back, but you really want to pay attention to what's behind you, because that's going to draw focus away from you. You want to make sure focus is on you. After that, you want to make sure, again, you're in screen, everything is looking good. Make sure they're paying attention to the words you speak. So don't backtrack, don't try to be fake, try to, make sure you're you. If the position is something where you feel you would wear a suit to an interview, wear a suit. If the position is something where you would wear more of a blazer and a shirt, or just a nice shirt, wear that. Don't try to be fake or think you know what they want to see. Just be you. Make eye contact virtually per se. So if you look at all of our panelists, you can see they're looking at the camera. They're not, it's kind of obvious right now. I might be looking at my phone when you're talking because I'm glancing up. All of that is going to be seen whether you realize it or not. So just be cognizant of everything around you, your body language, and then just be true, be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And sometimes, our background, some of these things are kind of hard to avoid, especially when you're with family or you have a pet and dogs and all that, and then the phone rings. So definitely, you want to set yourself in an environment where you're not distracted. And
exactly. Phones on silent, everybody. Make sure your phones are on silent or turn them off. Make sure there's no distraction. Don't even have them where you can, because if you're glancing down, I'm sure you all can see, I'm not paying attention, I'm looking down. Remove your distractions, lock the pets out of the room. Make sure it's just you and them, and pretend and act as if you were in front of them. Give them that kind of attention. They're going to give it back to you.
And just echoing on that statement with the whole virtual interviews, the question is for Janine. What do you feel is the most important contribution that a young professional can make to an organization?
I know this might sound relatively simple, but right now, your positive professional attitude is gold. There is a lot happening. There's a lot to be said about a lot happening, not even just with COVID, but also just politically. Right now, there is a significant amount of conversations and opinions. Guests, at least we experience here, guests are a little more challenging at the moment. They're a little more sensitive to the situation as well, which could be expected. So the most important thing you can do is continue to be positive. Continue to be positive in what you're doing. I know it's hard. I know it's not fun. If you need 5 minutes, take 5 minutes. I get it. If it was a hard guest, if it was a hard situation, if you're frustrated, complain up, don't complain down, but be professional, be positive, because everyone can feel your energy. And it's very hard to work in an atmosphere where you're feeling everybody else's emotions. And all emotions are high right now. So it's an incredible experience when you can get people on board and be more positive. So being a part of the the good end of the spectrum there is the best thing.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that that it's not just being positive at work, but also positive in your personal life. You know, we all, when people do apply and applicants do apply, many of the employers do look at your social media accounts. So you want to keep a positive type of attitude, a friendly type of persona, and just double check your posts. Look through it and analyze yourself and think, is this something that I want people to know about me in a few 30 seconds, or is it something that I want them to not know? You want to have that positive persona, that professional digital presence.
Agreed.
Thank you, Janine. Okay, the next question is for Chris. What skills should a younger industry person be working on to fit in today's job market? I know we talked a little bit about this, but you can.
I would say financial acumen. It is, the more you move on in your career, the more knowledge you have to have, and the more involvement and the more responsibility that you have. For those of us that are in the hospitality industry, doing budgets and reading P&Ls is probably not what got us into that. We didn't wake up one day and said, I want to do budgets. I'm going to join the hotel industry. We did it because we like to work with people. We did it because we like the food and beverage side, whatever it is. But as you move up, the responsibility gets more and more. And, like right around a department manager is typically when you start working with budgets, start, being involved in those. But there's been times in my career when I've been responsible for 35 budgets, and that's huge. So it's hard to learn it later on in your career. So I'd say really focus on that, and that does also make you stand out when you're interviewing.
Now it's a great time to do some preparation, pursue some education, definitely get into those areas that you have just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now the question for Kevin, for someone that is starting, where does someone with that limited experience start? Where should they, go apply first when they want to be part of the hotel?
Sure. I guess it kind of depends on what your long-term goal is, and oftentimes people don't really know what their long-term goal is at that point. But it's, assuming that somebody wants to move up, if you're on this call at 6 o'clock on a Thursday, I'm going to assume you're a go-getter, right? And you have aspirations to do big things. And part of our role, if I could just say quickly, is to make sure that we put the right people in the right positions. The last thing we want to do is bring somebody into a role where you're setting them up to fail. And oftentimes candidates don't understand that. So, on the hotel side, as an example, I would say front desk is probably the most basic entry level sort of position if you want to become a hotel GM. But oftentimes it's not that easy. And so sometimes you'll have to start in housekeeping, maybe as a runner or something to that nature. On the casino side, I have folks that apply for casino shift managers or casino host positions at this property, and they've never even been in a casino before. And so, I often, I'm very blunt with people who are applying, because I think it's important that they get good feedback. Maybe you should try as a slot attendant or work in the rewards booth first, and really just get your feet wet in terms of the basic understanding of how a casino works, or how a restaurant works, or how the hotel works. So, my colleagues have said it many times, it's all about attitude. If you get your foot in the door and you work hard, opportunities without a doubt are going to come about, and you just have to jump on those opportunities and not be afraid to try new things, not be afraid to fail. And I think it was John that said, and if I could say, finding a really, really good mentor is going to be able to get you where you need to be long-term.
Finding that mentor and making that connection, would be really great in the professional career. And a question for Greg, do you recommend ongoing education and professional certifications for emerging leaders?
I would never discourage anyone from going forward with getting those type of initials, especially if you work for a company that offers tuition reimbursement or offer those classes for free. That's definitely a good tool to take advantage of. The only thing that I would caution somebody on, if they're looking to do that, is to make sure that it actually has long-term applicability to their goals. If it doesn't really do anything for their career, then it's just initials. And a lot of times I've seen young people who will go after the initials instead of actually focusing on maybe enhancing their leadership capacity. And if you want to grow in this in this industry, you got to be able to lead people. And so, you know, if you're going to go after initials, that's great and fine, but also focus on how you can develop your leadership and how you lead people.
Absolutely. And, you know, the question is, you know, just because you've got a certification and a degree, it does not guarantee you a placement into the industry. You have to work hard and you have to start from somewhere and grow from there and focus on the leadership.
I agree.
Now this question is, yeah, thank you, Brian. Okay. Question for John. What do you feel is the biggest opportunity for young people looking for jobs today?
Yeah, so I think, you know, companies are reinventing themselves right now in this day and age, right? You know, and so how does that potential candidate fit into those new roles, right? So because companies are reinventing themselves, they're looking for new sets of skills and fresh ideas, and I think those will win the day, right? So if there's people who are maybe just coming out of college with again, diverse new skills, I think that's a huge opportunity because again, companies are looking to maybe reinvent themselves, right? And I think also younger people, you know, understand consumer trends probably just as good as anybody, if not better, right? I was on an NHLA panel earlier today as an attendee, and Cynthia Kaiser Murphy talked about activations and photo opportunities, right? And that's how you can drive business and revenue streams to your hotels. So I know younger people love social media. So I think obviously that's a huge opportunity. So understanding consumer trends better than anybody. And then I think also one last opportunity is being prepared to, you know, because you're so young in your career, if you switch career paths now, I think you still have a lot of time to make up any ground in terms of leadership positions or you know, fulfilling different roles in that different career path. So having youth on your side is always an advantage in that sense. And then you can always go back to school again, because you know, if you're still young in your career, you still have a lot of time to maybe build up your education a little bit more, and again, still be able to climb the ladder if that's what you choose to do. So those are the biggest opportunities I see.
And we have a question from the audience on the chat feature from Willette. I know all the questions have been targeted to emerging leaders, young professionals. Now, what type of advice you have for someone that's a little bit more seasoned, someone that is a little bit older and looking to change career paths? Does anyone want to answer that question for seasoned professionals?
They want to get into the hospitality industry or move out of the hospitality?
They want to get into the industry. Someone that has come from a different industry, non-hospitality.
I think it's, you know, it's the problem. If there is a problem, it will be just where the kind of the history of the hospitality industry is people grow within the industry, right? Very often they're starting at really entry level positions, even educated, even, you know, kids coming out of college or starting out at really kind of very with less seniority. So if someone has had a career, it will be a little bit difficult to assimilate right into the hotel industry at the same level as they were maybe from the outside. I think that's just the fact of it. One is, so is there the ability, if you have the ability to you know, kind of get your feet wet in an entry level position and exhibit your leadership skills, I think that the opportunity for advancement would definitely be there. It's just a harder road to come in. And a lot of it just stems in, I think we're just this industry that, you know, breeds this kind of special people that like to be here on weekends and, you know, doesn't, you know, it's foreign to a lot of other industries. And it doesn't mean that it can't happen, but I think the ability to just really exhibit your service skills coupled with leadership skills could pave the way to advancement, but it might be more difficult to enter into the same level that you are. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Elsa. I think also want to highlight that, you know, if you're working in a different industry and you want to get into hospitality, look into those transferable skills. You know, if you were in a leadership position, you know, emphasize that, showcase that on your resume and show that you're task and results driven and kind of correlate that with the position that you're applying for. And I think that would help tremendously. We'll have some questions from some of them put on the Q&A feature. So Willette has another question. How would an experienced person transition into a position into the hospitality industry, coming from a different career? Where would they start? I guess we actually covered that. We'll go over to David's question. David asked, what type of mistakes are you seeing for mid-level to senior level leadership roles in the application process? Anyone want to chime in on that?
I know some of the mistakes that I'm seeing as far as resumes that come over. We have a lot of people applying for our higher level positions, and they're writing their resumes wrong. So they're saying, this is what I did, this is what I want to do, this is what I could do for you. But again, they're not giving the meat and potatoes that was talked about saying is, I took our this down to this. Here's my percentage. I was able to do this to call volume if they're in a call center. I was able to, save this much money in this much amount of time. I was able to, they're not really showcasing that. It's more of a, here's my fancy titles. This is what I can do. I can type 65 words a minute type of thing. We really want, what makes someone stand out is I want to know what they did, not necessarily what they can do. I want to show me what you did. I'm going to call you based on that.
All right. Okay. And this is the last question I just want to ask around the entire panel, and we'll begin with Ilse back again. What do you think 2021 will look like in the Nevada hotel industry?
Well, listen, I think there's probably no city that has a tougher road ahead of them, just based on our businesses are built on crowds and volume and entertainment, and the ability to social distance is in our business is really difficult. But I also think you have some of the smartest companies working on this. So I see recovery. I'm very optimistic about recovery. I think we have to weather the storm a bit, and I think it will be tougher for our properties. We are number one hospitality driven, and it's like, for us to say that it's not going to be challenging, especially in the first part of the year, would be an understatement. But I think protocols combined with testing, combined with innovative ways of doing things, combined with just really smart people wanting to make this happen, I think, and there's so much pent up demand for real travel and real connectivity and meetings to happen again in person. This is great, but it's not great. At the end of the day, what we thrive on is face-to-face interaction, and Vegas is a huge destination for that. So I think slow beginning of the year. I feel optimistic by mid-year, and I think 22 will be strong. But I don't know anything. So
Thank you, Ilse. Just want to have a little bit of a comment from the audience. Brian said, the panelists are reminding me of a quote from Elon Musk. He said, there's no need to have a college degree at all, or even high school. Just wanting to see experience or drive to get things done. All right, thank you, Brian. Okay. We'll go back to the question, 2021, what will it look like for the Nevada hotel industry? Nicole, what do you have to say on that?
I think what it's going to look like is a lot of thinking outside the box. In fact, I think we're just going to throw away the box. We're just going to make it up as we go, because we kind of have to. Who would have ever thought you'd be sitting at a gaming table with plexiglass in front of you? Who would have ever thought you'd be playing at a gaming table and not be allowed to touch your cards? Who would have thought, you'd have plexiglass between you and someone else? It's brand new territory. It's way outside of the box. So I think we're going to see a lot more new and exciting things coming up that it's going to allow us to do our job. I also think we're going to see a big boom in customer service because unfortunately, all of us on the panel, everyone out there, competition is going to be more fierce. We're only allowed to have, certain number of people in the properties. We're only allowed to have certain number of people in the restaurants, on the gaming floor, in shows when they're all back open. So we're going to be competing for that. So I think that the customer service and the service that we offer is going to just go through the roof because that's how we're really going to get the people back. It's all going to be about the smiles and the customer service and hiring the right people and bringing them into the jobs to portray that for us.
Thank you, Nicole. And how about you, Janine? What's your take?
I definitely agree with Ilsa and Nicole. I think it's going to be challenging here through a little Q4 into Q1. Reno might be acting slightly different. I'm up here in Reno. Might be acting slightly different than Vegas. We still have a significant amount of California happy to come over the mountain, but it's an entirely unique world right now. It's all a wait and see game. And I'm excited to continue to see exactly what Nicole was saying. We are absolutely going to come up with brand new ways that we can't even think of right now to continue and pursue the outcomes that we want. There's never been a problem that someone couldn't solve some way. We just have to think of it. And we have the people in the places, we have the companies, we have the industry, we have it already. We just have to continue to push to get to that answer. I think it's very clear that this isn't going away. I think there was a time frame there where we thought it's going to be just a slight amount of time, it's going to be a few months, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and clearly none of that was accurate. And it's going to continue and persist here for quite a while. So I think it's pushing more innovations and more ways for us to shine the way we never have before. And I'm excited for it, even though I know there'll be some tough times there, but I think it'll be good.
And I think all of us as hospitality professionals are very creative in providing solutions to our guests. Now you have to provide solutions to this pandemic and bracing through that. How about you, Chris? What's your take on 2021?
It's going to continue to be tough. I think, as Nicole talked about, it's going to be about service. We're going to have to stand out to get the guests, get the occupancy. We're going to have to redefine ourselves, change the way that we're marketing our rooms, and just really fight for our guests. I think the city is going to come back. I think Nevada as a whole, and I think Vegas will really come back quicker than other areas. But we'll get there. It's going to take a while. I think, like Elise said, I think 2022 we'll start to see more of a rebound. Now, I will say that I change my mind every hour. So this is Thursday at 6 o'clock. Ask me in an hour, and if there's been some news, I might change. I don't know. It's really been a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Kevin?
Sorry, I got to take myself off mute. I was going to look into my crystal ball over there to see if I could figure out what's going on, but I don't know that I have the answer either. We're all in different markets, everybody on this panel. And I think even though they may be sort of separate in terms of how we're dealing with things for next year, I think the one thing that I can probably say on behalf of everybody is we all have to work together collaboratively to make sure that the consumer knows that Las Vegas is a very safe place to go and place to come and visit. We work, obviously, everybody works very closely with the LVCVA, and that's going to be an important tool to get us through, at least Q1 of next year until there's some sort of vaccine. But I agree with Chris. I think it's going to be a rough year next year. It's certainly not going to be anywhere in 2018 numbers. I think 2022 at best will be, a full rebound year, if you will. So yeah, we just have to get creative, look at the way that we can try to increase our revenues. We talk about it every day here, and reduce expenses and make sure that we provide a clean, safe, fun environment for our guests. But it will be a rough one, I think, next year, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll be rough, but we'll definitely power through it. How about you, Greg?
I agree with everyone. I think it's going to be a little tough on us. And speaking from just personally, hard on us because we're people that like to enjoy people. and we're not able to really do that even with our teams. I mean, all of our meetings now are on Zoom and are on conference calls, and how we're able to interact with people. I think that's the biggest hurdle for everybody. And having a conversation today with a guest, and they asked, "Are you used to this?" Yes, I am, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be used to it. I want to be able to engage with people like everybody on this call. We want to wrap our arms around people and shake hands and do high fives, and we're not able to do that right now. And I think that's, for me, that's probably the toughest part, and it's going to continue until we're out of this thing. But like everybody's mentioned on this call, we got to do it together and just kind of plow through it.
Yeah, definitely. And last but not least, John, what's your take on 2021?
Yeah, so I mean, I absolutely agree with every single thing that the panelists said, right? Through 2021, it's going to be tough, especially through Q2, right? I think there are a couple bright spots. Obviously, Resorts World is coming online. The Hard Rock is rebranding to Virgin Hotels. Hopefully, the MSG Sphere will open up. Obviously, the Raiders Stadium is new, but like I said, there are a couple bright spots out there, and hopefully those will help drive us back to normalcy a little bit. And the thing I'm excited for 21, I think it only builds a sense of community even more than it already is, right? I think we all kind of have that battle scar on us now, right? We survived COVID, after this is all said and done, and we'll look back on this and realize that we all did it together, and it was the community that did it. So if anything, I think that will be one of the biggest takeaways.
All right, thank you, John. All right, we have some questions from the audience. We'll get in with David. David has a question on cover letters. So what's everyone's thought on cover letters? Is it worth to submit them? Yes, or is it not worth it? If an application tells you that please submit cover letter, or it's not required, should they be submitting a cover letter? Anyone want to answer that?
Yes, it's worth it.
It's worth it?
I agree. It has to be impactful, though.
Mm-hmm. And by impactful, do you mean like it's not just a repeat of your resume?
Exactly.
You have to offer something like your pitch, right? Your
Tells a
elevator
story.
Pitch.
Yeah, tell your
Tell the
story.
story,
I
yeah.
always like it when they talk a little bit about the position, They talk about, I've taken a look at the company. It seems like a good fit for me and this role. I think if you look at my resume, the jobs I've had would really complement that role. We can read your resume. The cover letter is your entry sales pitch.
Yes, thank you. If anyone wants to volunteer from Gigi has a question. What have you all learned from this COVID environment, this experience? If we can just go around the panel, just say one thing that they have learned. We'll go with Ilsa first.
One thing, I have learned that I have learned that whatever I know today is different the next day, and that you have to be ready for change. That's what I've learned.
Thank you. Change. Okay. How about you, Nicole?
I've learned that everything is my job. So if I have to make a bed, clean a room, cover a front desk, it doesn't matter. Security, everything is my job.
All right. For you, Janine?
Necessity is the mother of all invention. If there is a will, there is a way to figure it out.
Chris?
Yeah, I would just say that our team can't be broken. I mean, it kind of takes what everybody said, but I mean, we have been very flexible in things that I never thought we'd have to deal with 10 months ago that I probably would have, if asked, I would have said would have broken us. And we just scraped off our knees, got back up and kept going.
Kevin?
We can't just say one thing, right? That's just not how we do it. Super cliche, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Life's too short. At the end of the day, you really see true colors of people in an environment like this here at work. But you still got to have fun because you just never know.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, Greg.
I've learned that I don't like COVID. That's what I've learned. You know, everybody said it. It's kind of taught us that we do have the ability to come together in tough times, no matter what. And even though we've had to, you know, probably as a group, every single one of us has had to make some pretty hard choices along the way, you know, regarding teams and how we do business. But you know, learn just to do it. And I can't wait to actually manage a property and not manage COVID.
And then John.
Yeah. So first of all, always have hand sanitizer. Definitely, that's one of the first thing I learned. But no, I think you know, along the lines of what Kevin said, right? Nothing's guaranteed. I think a lot of us had projections probably that 2020 was going to be an all-time record year. So you know, nothing's guaranteed, and you really have to be agile as a company and an individual to you know, when things like this punch you in the face, you just got to be prepared to counterpunch.
Absolutely. And I think all of us here that we have not mentioned that we have learned, and myself have learned, is Zoom. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, Google Hangouts, all of these interesting applications that we have never done before can suddenly be done in this type of presentation, this type of field. We have conducted meetings, we have discussed with the staff. So, you know, that's, you know, one thing that I think all of us have learned is to connect in the virtual world. And hopefully, you know, within the next few months, we will now connect in an in-person world, in a more comfortable and safe environment. And then one last question. I know time is coming up real close. This question is from Mary. With all the new responsibilities being taken on, what are some tips and tricks you use to remain positive and not feel so overwhelmed?
I'll jump
Anyone
in.
want to tackle that?
So for me, it kind of just goes back. It's like a customer service thing. There is nothing that happens at a property or no matter where you work that you can't figure out a way to fix. So you might have that moment where you're like, but then you just got to stop and think about it. You can fix it. So there's really no reason to get upset, get angry. You know, whether you get angry or you're happy, the situation is going to be what it is. So if you're happy about it and you're positive and you're bright, everyone is going to feed off of that. And you're going to be able to solve whatever it is and just move on.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, I think that pretty much covers everything from our virtual Emerging Leaders panel. Again, thank you to our amazing panel for being with us tonight and providing some good takeaways that all of us can apply to our own professional endeavors. Thank you to our audience for joining with us. This virtual panel webinar is being recorded and will be made available to the NHLA YouTube channel. And you can also follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn. Type in Nevada Hotel Lodging Association. Connect with us, connect with all the people that are part of our panel. This is a great way for us to, you know, be that standout emerging leader. Have a great rest of the night, and we look forward to seeing you at our next virtual NHLA event. Take care and stay safe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody, goodbye.
Good night, and thank you, Anthony.
Good night.